Well, I think we can take a look at the charts too. I know people are probably saying, hey, it's cool of everything that's happening in the news, but like, what's happening with price? Am I going to make money? Am I making money? Am I losing money? Well, let's talk about it. Let's take a look because, Bitcoin is certainly on the move here. And as we said, it bottomed out over here right around $38,300. Now, after it kind of bottomed out here, we've seen Bitcoin back on the up and up. And so with this, there's a couple of kind of takeaways. For a while, we saw Ethereum dominance rising. We saw Ethereum outpacing Bitcoin. Now on dips like this and periods where there are, more downside volatility, we tend to see Bitcoin be the stronger performer because it falls less. So let's just say Bitcoin fell by 3.5% yesterday. Ethereum fell by about 4.5%, 5%. That means Bitcoin dominance goes up because it's not falling as much as Ethereum is. And so what we've seen here is that right off the high up here, Bitcoin has been on a steady down path for the last couple of weeks, bottomed out here. And what we really want to see Bitcoin do is get back inside of kind of this sideways trading range that we are looking at. This is an area that Bitcoin came up once. We saw it break up over this level and then immediately kind of fall back down, bounce off of it once, twice, came back down towards it, bounced off the 50. We came down here actually just the other day on Friday of last week, bounced off of it again, and we fell below here. So what we really don't want to see is Bitcoin do like a break, hook, and go, as we like to call it, where it breaks down below, hooks on the way back up, and then goes. So we call this the break, hook, and go. And that's what we don't want to see because actually we saw the inverse of that happen on the upside over here, where we did the break, the hook, and the go towards the upside. And now what we really don't want to do is turn this former support into a newfound resistance. So I think that if Bitcoin can get back up inside of this range that it was trading in for about a month and a half, then the two immediate resistance levels that I'm looking at are the 50 and 20-day moving averages, which is also this previous swing high right here, or micro high. And that's going to be right around $43,000. Now above that, the big one that I'm looking at is our previous yearly high, right around $48,000 to $49,000, right up in here. So if we're looking at like the short term, there's plenty of support kind of below Bitcoin. We're zooming out here. We still have the 200-day moving average. We still have previous highs. We still have previous consolidation ranges. There's a lot of stuff that's kind of in between where Bitcoin is now and new lows. In fact, I would even go so far as to say, I don't really even see new lows on the horizon. So for all the people that are calling for like a 1K Bitcoin, a 10K Bitcoin, all that stuff, to me, it kind of comes through as nonsense. I think it is just as foolish as saying as your favorite crypto is going to go to like a $10 trillion market cap. It's kind of the same land of outlandishness of that. Now, if we switch things over to Ethereum, Ethereum's a little bit different because, while Bitcoin and Ethereum both broke their 50-day moving averages here, it took a little bit longer for Ethereum to do this. And really up until maybe 2 days ago, over on Monday, Ethereum was actually holding value really, really well on top of, you can see, oops, and I might have drawn the wrong tool. And as you can see that Ethereum is actually and was actually testing this previous resistance range as a newfound support for a really long time. And then it wasn't until Monday that it actually saw the breakdown. But even now, you can see that Ethereum is coming off an area where even with this close, it's still considered higher lows. It's not breaking down the new lows yet. In fact, it hasn't even broken through the 200-day moving average. Now, one of the things that we've seen in the last, I would say, few weeks, basically since the crypto market topped out a few weeks ago, is that Bitcoin was down around 20%, and altcoins across the board were down around 35, maybe 40%, depending on the size of their market cap. The lower the market cap, they tend to be down a little bit more because there's more volatility. And the larger the market cap, they tend to be down a little bit less. So when we're looking at altcoins kind of across the board, no matter what it is, they are down a little bit more off the highs, whether it's like Immutable X, Matic, Solana, the list kind of goes on here. But I don't think it necessarily means that they're out. So kind of the way that I'm looking at this whole situation before we dive into like Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance and all that, is that I'm really waiting to see a lot of confirmation. I know a lot of people want to just like pile money into the crypto markets on the dips, which I think if you're a long-term investor, I don't think it's a bad thought at all. But for the people who do like to do a little bit more of like a day trading strategy, and they like to be involved with more like short-term activities, to those people, I'd say, I don't think it's a bad thing to wait for some sort of confirmation. whether that confirmation is support, maybe that is touching the 200-day moving average in a week or two. But I think waiting for some sort of confirmation here is not necessarily a bad sign. I think people are going to have to sit on their hands a little bit more moving forward until this is resolved. But I think that this will be something that does get resolved within the next few months over here. So I think that we could have a choppy, maybe first quarter, maybe second quarter, but I do see this overall resolving over the course of this year here. And I kind of see us resuming that overall uptrend. So the final thing that I think that we can kind of talk about on the charts is just what's happening with dominance, because Bitcoin dominance and altcoin dominance have been in an absolute war over the past, several weeks now. Bitcoin dominance was on a tear for over a year. Ethereum dominance was on a downfall for over a year. Ethereum dominance may manage to rally off of its previous low from back in June of 2022, bounce really, really well off of this and go back above the 200-day moving average, which is a significant area because Ethereum was not trading over Ethereum BTC was not trading over its 200-day moving average on a consistent basis for over a year. And so people saw this. People saw Ethereum's price rising. They saw Ethereum kind of rallying over here in terms of dominance. And they said, hey, this could be the beginning of an alt season. And what we're seeing now is that it's still very much possible, right? Ethereum can kind of still bounce here and move its way back up. But so far on the downtrend, Bitcoin dominance is back on the rise. And in the same way that Ethereum dominance broke upwards over its 200-day moving average, Bitcoin dominance initially broke downwards underneath its 200-day moving average for the first time in over a year. So there is a lot going on in the market. I think the big thing that a lot of people want to watch out for here, and they're probably saying, why do I care about dominance in the first place? Well, everyone loves an alt season. There's a ton of gains to be made in them. And pretty much every single market cycle, that's like a big point that everyone's waiting on. They're saying, hey, when is altcoin season going to be here so that I can go make 5, 10, 20, 50x on some of my altcoin plays? Well, I think Bitcoin dominance is a big thing to watch out for on that front, because if we go back and we look at previous market cycles, Bitcoin dominance goes up and up and up until it doesn't. And then when the alt season begins, like we saw in 2021, for example, Bitcoin dominance goes off a cliff and altcoin dominance drastically rises. And so it's in times like this, after the initial move up of Bitcoin dominance, that the altcoin season happens. Now, it might not always be this big, but we've seen it happen in 2021 right here. We've seen it happen over in 2017, which I'm going to zoom in a little bit more because it's small. But we saw it happen in 2017 right over in here. And so we can see that in between these periods of these big alt seasons that we all know and love in every market cycle, there are periods where Bitcoin dominance rises until it falls during these bigger altcoin seasons. So that's kind of my thoughts on where we're at in the market right now. And again, certainly a lot of things to pay attention to. I think that the coming weeks and the coming months are going to present a number of dip buying opportunities. And for the day traders out there, there's going to be long and short opportunities galore in the coming weeks.
So what would you call like this fall? So obviously the Bitcoin price ran up, but also we had a mini alt season almost.
Yeah.
What would you call it? That wasn't a full blown alt season.
Yeah, exactly.
So crypto investor.
Yeah, exactly. We can have these mini alt seasons inside of an overall market cycle, kind of in the same way that we can have, I like to call them rallies. So we have the overall market cycles that everyone is used to, and then we have the rallies inside of those market cycles where things can move up for a period of time and then down for a period of time. And in pretty much every market cycle that we've had, we've seen Bitcoin and most altcoins pull back 10, 20, 30, 40% inside of the overall bull market, as most people would call it. And so it's not uncommon to see these hefty double-digit retracements over the period of like a month, 2, 3 months time, even with the overall trend upwards still being maintained. And so that's what I would call this, is exactly that. We had a little rally inside of the overall uptrend, and now we're seeing a bit of a retracement. But I think that the overall trend will continue, and then we're going to have our next rally. And then guess what? I think we're going to have another retracement after that. And that's just, the natural way that the markets move. It doesn't matter if it's crypto or something else, Tevo, is that, things go up and they go down. And people, they love them both ways. It's a double-edged sword.
No, it's a great point. I was watching CNBC this morning, and just for the regular stock market, Netflix is the hottest stock. They've won the quote-unquote streaming wars, and they were showing the chart, and it wasn't that long ago. It was last year, 22, like the fall of 22. I guess it was almost 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. I don't know. Some bad numbers came out. The stock started selling off, and then the famous billionaire Bill Ackman, big-time investor, he just said he was done with it. He was like, I'm done with Netflix, throwing in the towel, sold it, and they called it the Ackman bottom. So it was like the day that Ackman sold, it's been an elevator up for the last year and a half. And a year and a half time, a couple 100% gain. So yeah, it happens everywhere. You just gotta read the charts, do your research, and try to be smart as you can.